We now welcome Alon Pinkas, former Israeli Consul General in New York and former Foreign Policy Advisor to Prime Ministers Ehud Barak and Shimon Peres, joining us from Tel Aviv. Thank you so much for your time. So Riyadh setting its sights high, so to speak, wanting to be at the core of future global air travel. Also, obviously, a major boost for Boeing, its shares rising around 2% in early trading. Talk us through the significance of this major deal described by an embassy spokesman, Fahad Nazar, as evidence of the strength of the kingdom's commercial ties with the US and American companies. Your take?
Well, it's true, Denise, but the emphasis should be on the word commercial. This obviously has no political or geopolitical significance. However, had the Saudi airlines or air carriers decided to go with Airbus, then we would have had a different conversation altogether and say that this is further evidence of a distancing or a disengagement between the Saudis and the Americans. I think it's a big deal, first and foremost, for Boeing. I mean, not for American foreign policy or American policy in the Gulf area. And I think it is consistent with what the Saudis have been saying, even in the bad days of a few months ago in their relationship with the U.S., when they said that economic and commercial ties will not be impacted by geopolitical or strategic differences and disagreements.
That certainly is a fascinating development just coming in a few hours ago. Alon, turning to that surprise deal between Saudi Arabia and Iran in recent days, how does this brokering role that China played here impact the United States, given Washington's uncertain relations with Beijing and, as you've already alluded to, with Riyadh as well?
Well, to be honest, Denise, if you follow the Saudi-Iranian dialogue, it should not have come as a surprise. The fact that the Saudis concluded a long time ago that they have nothing to gain with an ongoing active enmity or belligerency with Iran, and that the proximity of the two countries and mutual interests, believe it or not, require some kind of a dialogue, or at least lowering the flames of animosity that existed in both Yemen and in bilateral relations that were severed 8 years ago. Now, the surprising factor to some has been the active Chinese mediation. And immediately everyone recalled that, well, this is because the U.S. has been disengaging from the region. It's true that the U.S. is disengaging from the region, and this is a long-term process that began over a decade ago. And if you connect the dots of U.S. policy in Libya and Syria and Egypt and Yemen and the Israeli-Palestinian issue and withdrawing from Iraq and Afghanistan, which they somehow integrate in their thinking into the Middle East, and now this, and then the strife with the Saudis, it's true that the U.S. is disengaging. That being established, Denise, that doesn't mean that China can supplant or replace or substitute or any synonym that you can think of the U.S. The U.S.'s naval presence in the region is huge and impressive. In terms of military assistance, China cannot conceivably substitute the U.S. And in terms of the Chinese themselves, they're taking the U.S. pivot to East Asia and the rivalry which is growing with China, and they're actually adding a local front right here in the Gulf. To tell you that this will inevitably lead to some kind of confrontation, I doubt that very much. I think the most important thing here is that Iran broke the isolation that it was in for the better part of the last 7-8 years. And in terms, if the agreement does indeed succeed, I mean, be implemented effectively,
right,
it does have the potential to change the political landscape in the region.
Well, we certainly appreciate your insight into the ever-changing dynamics across this region. Alon Pinkas, former Israeli Consul General in New York, as always, appreciate your time and your insight. Thank you.